Welcome back to College 101. 2 videos ago, I talked about my favorite college jobs, and in the last video, I talked about whether or not you should work during college. In that same vein, today we're going to be talking about whether or not school scholarships are worth it to try and get. And really, this is a very personal thing. I mean, in the end, free money is free money, and it'd be really great if you could all qualify for one. But there are some questions you can ask yourself to help you evaluate if it's worth it to shoot for that high GPA commitment that it takes to get and keep a school scholarship. The first question you need to ask yourself is, what is the time commitment to get a good enough grades for a scholarship? And sort of before that is, what grade cutoffs are there to get a scholarship at your school? For some schools and some scholarships, the cutoff might be a 3.0, a 3.25, or a 3.4. At my university, it was crazy competitive and they didn't hand out a lot of scholarships. So to get a full-time scholarship, you need like a 3.9 almost, and a half tuition was like a 3.8. And so at my school, there were a lot of people who said, it's not worth the time to try and get a 4.0. There's no formula that says if I study this much, then I have to get a scholarship, because there's always a bad test, maybe there's a class you're not good in, or maybe the public school system just doesn't really work very well for the way you learn. So you're doing it to be able to get into the job field that you want, but you know you're not going to excel. So ask yourself, let's say if an average person, treats school like a 40-hour-a-week job, you go to your classes and you do all your homework to a certain level, you put in a little bit of effort, but not a ton. If that takes someone 40 hours a week, we'll say, or 50 hours a week, how many additional hours would it take for you to raise your GPA from a B average, a 3.0, up to a 3.25 or a 3.5, to get half A's and half B's instead of all B's? The second question to ask yourself is, what's the value of the cash scholarship you're going to? If you've chosen to save money by going to a community college or a cheaper university in your state, then that full tuition scholarship isn't going to be worth as much, right? Whereas if you go to a big name school like, I don't know, Harvard or Caltech or something, your full tuition scholarship could be worth a lot of money every year. So again, how much return are you going to get for your time investment? The third question to ask yourself is, do you need a high GPA anyway? If you're going into a professional degree, like if you're doing pre-med or pre-law and you have to get a really high GPA anyways for your major, then definitely shoot for it. There's no reason not to shoot for these scholarships if it's going to help you in your full career anyways. There's a lot of majors where as long as you have a 3.0, you'll be able to apply for almost any job. And in almost every field, a 3.25 or a 3.4 will qualify you for any job application I've ever seen. The fourth question to ask yourself is, do you enjoy school? For me and my personality, school was kind of like a game to beat. You're messing with percentages and numbers, and it's kind of competitive to try and see if you can do better than the class, because even if you bomb a test, if you do better than everyone else, sometimes you get a curve. So for me, school was almost kind of fun. Maybe I'm like a masochist or something, because I know a lot of you really don't enjoy school. But if you like school and it comes to you naturally, as far as working in the public school system, that might be another reason to consider going for these academic scholarships sponsored by your school. The fifth and final question you should ask yourself is, are you disciplined enough with money to save it for your tuition? What I mean by this is, sure, you could work an extra 10 or 20 hours a week on school and get paid a lump sum that just covers your tuition. It never even drops into your bank account most of the time. They just waive your tuition. And so there's no chance of you overspending. If you take that 10 or 20 hours a week and go work a different job, are you going to have the discipline to not go spend that money on fun things? Can you be disciplined enough to set it aside to pay your next semester's tuition or next month's rent? And that's all about you personally and how much of a saver versus a spender you are, especially when you're in high stress situations. It might be really easy to say, I really need to treat myself. I just took a really hard test or something. All right, break time. When it comes to days of the week, everyone knows that Mondays are the worst, Fridays are the best, and Sundays are a little bit sad because you've got to go back to work or school the next day. But they aren't the worst day, because the day before is a Saturday. If you like that joke or the content on this channel, please click the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. If you thought that pun was totally cringeworthy, please subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and come let me know on every video how much you cringe at my silly jokes. So if you can answer those 5 questions, and you think that it's worth it, I want to do some example math here for you because you know me, I love to use numeric examples to back up my advice. So let's take a school and let's say that your full tuition scholarship for the year might be $10,000 cash value. And let's say for the first example that you're going to have to work an extra 10 hours a week to get the grades you need for a scholarship versus just what we'll call an average level of effort. So across two 18-week semesters, that'd be 360 hours for $10,000. That's roughly a $25 per hour rate. I don't know about you, but none of the jobs I ever saw on campus were paying 25 bucks an hour. Now let's say instead that school doesn't come quite as naturally to you, or you're in like the meat of your major and it's really, really hard classes. So instead of taking 10 hours a week, it's going to take you 20 extra hours a week to get the grades you need. So instead of 50 hours a week, it's going to take you 70 hours a week, we'll say. So now twice as much extra time commitment. That means your hourly rate, you'd be working almost 720 hours for 2 semesters to get that $10,000. So your rate is only going to be $12.50 per hour. There's a lot of jobs you can go out and get that will pay you $12.50 an hour. Again, if you need good grades for your major, if you like school, then maybe go for that scholarship anyways, even if it's kind of a wash when it comes to the money that you're making. Hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not scholarships are worth your time, because in the end, one of the most important skills you're going to get out of college is time and money management. And so learning to make these critical decisions now and think about them properly will help serve you well in the future. Thanks again for watching this episode of College 101. Like I said, my last 2 videos have been on the same sort of topic about scholarships, how important are your grades, whether or not to work, so definitely check those out if you still got questions. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on College 101 here on the College Guide.